Last August, Netflix released a mystery sci-fi drama show called Biohackers. I intended to watch it upon release. I really did intend to watch it. I even looked forward to it in my one and only edition of the short-lived news series, What's News? Hashtag bring back What's News. The strange thing is, despite being excited to see it, and stating on the internet that I would, I didn't. Anyway, as Rafiki from The Lion King says, it's in the past. And I finally saw it. Well, he didn't actually say the second part. Right, okay, let me just state for the record that Rafiki has not seen Biohackers. Actually, why am I speaking for Rafiki? Let me ask him. Rafiki, have you seen Biohackers, yeah or nah? That's what I thought. Alright, before I get into the review, can you please subscribe to The Culture Cave? We've got plenty of film talk, TV talk, in podcasts, videos, reviews like this one. Give us a subscribe, you won't regret it. Biohackers is a German TV show made for Netflix by Christian Ditter. It stars Luna Velda as Mia, a college student who has aspirations of working and getting close to world-renowned professor Tanya Lorenz, played by Jessica Swartz. However, as the story progresses, we find out that there is a dark past which motivates Mia's actions. IMDb describes Biohackers as a fast-paced thriller, and this, unfortunately, is one of the areas of the show that I had an issue with. Sure, it is fast-paced, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's well-paced. A lot of stuff happens, and the story moves rather quickly. In fact, at times it felt like a 3-hour film that couldn't be cut down, and therefore they released it as a series. And if you think I'm kidding about that, they may try to convince you that there is more to it than there is, but don't believe them. The episodes may look 44 minutes long, but a good 9 minutes of the runtime is credits. I'm not joking. The last 9 minutes of each episode is the credits. Now, I have very mixed feelings about this. Eagle-eared viewers of this channel will have picked up that I watched this show whilst on an exercise bike. So you can imagine how relieved I was that instead of it being 44 minutes of cycling, I only had to do 35. Jokes aside, pacing was an issue. After finishing the 5th episode, and then seeing in the menus of Netflix that the next episode was the last, I was stunned. Episode 5 didn't feel like the penultimate episode that put all the pieces in place for the season finale. In my opinion, the story would have been much better served if they had cut out 45 minutes to an hour of it and just released it as a movie. It weirdly suffered from being too long and too short at the same time. Despite this, it's not all doom and gloom for the German show. There are positives to be taken. For example, it does a good job of building moments of tension. There are several moments where characters have to sneak into labs and archives to get their hands on DNA samples, files, sciencey stuff. Don't get me wrong, it was the usual, telling someone you need to use the toilet and then sneaking into their office, printing out something from their computer, all the while they're getting closer and closer to the door, and then finally when the audience feels the most tense, they open the door and say, where's the toilet? Interestingly, however, even though these moments were clearly borrowing heavily from other sources, as well as heavily leaning into the trope, I really enjoyed them. I was genuinely on the edge of my seat, questioning whether or not the character would get away with it. On the other hand, another criticism I had of the show was the dimensionality of some of the characters, which was namely, one-dimensional. There does exist some interesting characterization in the 1 or 2 main characters, with some interesting motivations present. But the rest of the ensemble seemed doomed to be defined by the trope-laden box that they were placed in. We have the smart Asian, the villain who's doing ethically questionable shit in order to make the world a better place, the party animal, the crazy roommate. You get me. Now I will say, there were some interesting avenues for development within the characters that could have allowed for some more intricate characterization. For example, the smart Asian character, her name is Chen Lu, and is played by Jing Zhang by the way, is arguably transcending the trope due to the fact that her style is not the typical square, glasses-wearing nerd. As well as this, there's the fact that she seems to have a very hard border on what is ethically and legally okay to do in terms of, biohacking, which other characters don't seem to have, or at least disagree with her to a certain degree. This all sounds pretty good, right? Chen Lu seems to be a fairly well-rounded character. That is until she's brought into the main storyline in order to do some illegal biohacking, and the conversation goes a little like this. Chen-Lu says, "Nah, we can't do that, it's illegal." The main character says, yeah, but we need to." Chen-Lu's like, "Oh, okay, fair point. Never mentioned again." It was at this point I realized that the character of Chen-Lu was just a plot device. You needed to have an expert at a certain thing to do it. She did it. Didn't matter about all those ethical considerations before. We'll just explain it away with a one-off line. Now, don't get me wrong. I probably would have made the same choice as her. I just feel like the development that went into her character was wasted, due to there not even being a mention of ethics again. Once she decided to help, that aspect of her character went bye-bye. Maybe it'll come back in season 2, maybe it won't. Now, believe it or not, I actually did enjoy Biohackers for what it was, and I don't want this to be a completely negative review. The plot was compelling enough, and the reveals about certain characters' backstories did intrigue me. Add to that the tension building that the show does so well, and Biohackers is a perfectly serviceable offering from Netflix. And I'll state for the record, I will be watching season 2 based entirely on the cliffhanger they leave us with. Let's just say, I'm looking forward to having a new bad guy in the show. It's not that I thought Dr. Lorenz wasn't a fitting adversary for Mia, but I just felt like the type of bad guy scientist she had been done before and done better. For example, Jason Isaacs as Hap in the OA. Anyway, if you've seen Biohackers, let me know what you thought about it in the comments section. If you haven't seen it, I don't know if I would wholeheartedly recommend it, but it's an alright show, and for the most part achieved what it set out to do. So make that decision on your own. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I'll be back with another review soon. Subscribe to The Culture Cave and like the video. Bye bye.